Well, hello, amazing Illinois Church of God ministerial team and all the good people of Illinois and our friends far flung around the world who might be viewing this video. But greetings to you. It's been a while since I've done a Saturday briefing, and things have slowed down a little bit, thank God. And we've had a great year. I had a great camp meeting, great youth camp season, a number of other things. It's just been nonstop. But hopefully during the month of July, I usually try to plan it that way. It's the seventh month of the year, and so kind of a Sabbath month a little bit, slow things down, not schedule a lot of things. I did that as a pastor and also in state work here. And so I hope that you get a little rest and maybe even a little vacation time this month, fellas and gals. But anyway, I want to talk to you today. Let's talk money. I want you to prosper. I want your family to prosper. I want the ministry to be a positive experience in your life and for your family. You have the same dreams, same desires that your members do, that other people do. And the ministry is not about making us rich, but I do want you to earn a good living. And so I think there's a vital, important key mindset that I want to talk to you about. And so if I were to entitle this little briefing anything, I would entitle it this: Working for free is not for me. Working for free is not for me. Now, let me explain. There should be a lot of things, even in the ministry, or especially in the ministry, that we do for free. But we need to know what those things are. The Bible clearly teaches us that there's certain elements of the ministry of taking care of His church that is so important that the workman is worthy of his hire. Ministry is a vocation. It's a profession. And with that is the expectation of receiving a paycheck. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and you should not feel guilty. If you do a good job, you should get a good compensation for it. And growing churches, mindful churches, the leadership of those churches understand that and will never begrudge paying their pastor well. But here's a problem that happens that keeps so many pastors, I'm afraid, from earning the wages that they need for their family. And that's why so many of us are bivocational if we're not careful. And there's nothing wrong with being bivocational, especially at certain stages of our life in ministry. But I want you to keep in mind that working for free is not for me. If you're going to be a vocational, a professional minister of God that has that calling on his life or her life to take care of the house of God and the people of God. And what happens is that if we're not careful, the things that we do for free, it usually means that we enjoy those things. And if we're not careful, we will spend way too much time on doing the things that we would do for free anyway. Let me give you an example. I went to one church as a pastor, and the pastor that was before me, he loved yard work, and he would spend hours working in the yard of the church and the parsonage. And the good news is the church had one of the most beautiful properties in the whole city. And the parsonage did too. When we got there was this great garden. Man, I'm not a gardener. Man, we had that first year because we left kind of in the summer about this time of the year. He left, and we arrived about this time of the year. And so there was this beautiful garden there. And the bad news is that two things. The bad news is we were on the youth board back in those days, and we were gone for like 3 weeks of camp and then a week of camp meetings. And so by the time we really got back, the garden had turned into weeds. And the bad news, good news though, is because the pastor spent so much time doing what he would do for free, what he loved to do, the church did not grow. He did not tend to the things that a professional, vocational minister of God must do. I'll give you another example. Probably all of us, if we're truly called of God, you would preach for free. And as important as preaching is, you would do that for free. And what do we do if we're not careful? I have fallen for this. I love preaching and studying so much that if I'm not careful, I will spend way too many hours, especially when I was a pastor and I was preparing that sermon every week. I would spend way too many hours in preparing my messages and neglecting the things that I got paid to do. And so here's the key. Know the things that you would do for free. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a volunteer. But you're also, never lose sight of the fact that you're also a professional and you've got to act like one. You've got to tend to the things that are important. And I just listed, these are just 4 categories for you to think about. And I'm going to take preaching and teaching off the top of the list. I'm going to take it off the list because I would suspect that most of us would do that for free. Doesn't mean that it's not important. It is vitally important. It is probably the most important thing we do, but that's not why you get paid. We don't get paid to preach. We'd do that for free. If we really are called of God, we would do that for free. But remember, you are the pastor, the leader of your church. You've got to tend to the church people. And so here's 4 areas that you should get paid to do. You shouldn't have to do this for free. And that is because there's all other people that would preach for free and teach for free. Okay, but they're not willing to do these things. They're counting on you doing it. They've got their lives to run. They've got their business to run. And so there's the building and the property that must be managed and taken care of. Things like planning ahead because you know that ever so often the building's got to be refurbished. You are planning the budget. You're being a wise businessman, getting a good return on investment. And so you spend the money wisely. You're saving money, preparing for maintenance. You are leading the charge to make sure that ever so often the building is spray washed and cleaned, that it looks good, smells good, the property's taken care of, that curb appeal, those kind of things. Okay, you unless you're that one pastor that I talked about, most of us we don't do that for free. That's work. There's systems that needed to be developed and maintained, like educational system, your youth program, your children's program, your senior adult program. There's systems involved, ministries that must be administrated and planned and taken care of. There's the third thing. This is huge. The church is run by volunteers for the most part, but nobody works for free. And you can't pay people money. You can't pay many people to do the work of the Lord. And you shouldn't. But they need your time. They need your attention. They need your training. That's your pay for them. That you're honoring them, making them feel like they're a part of something. And so that has to be intentional. It doesn't come natural. We get paid to manage our team. And most of it will be for volunteers. And then the fourth thing is that there's people to be tended to. You know, something I've discovered about a lot of preachers is that they love the church, they love preaching, they love Jesus, but they don't necessarily love being with people. They're often loners. They love the people, but they're not, by nature, they're kind of loners. But you get paid to tend to people. The people in the nursing home, people that are connected to your church, people in the hospital, people that they ask you, will you check on my Aunt Sally or my cousin Tom? And they're not directly connected to your church, but it's by working for your people that your church begins to grow. And then, there's those difficult people. There's times when difficult people, difficult chores, difficult tasks, and I would say this to my staff. Oh yeah. So this is why they pay me, and that's exactly right. Those difficult people. If we're professionals, it's like a doctor. We don't get to pick and choose. They don't get to pick and choose who they're going to tend to. You tend to sick people. You help try to make people well, and so we get paid to put up with those kind of people sometime. And so just remember today, working for free is not for me. You've got a family. You've got a future. Most of us are men, and most of our wives will outlive us. It's our responsibility not only to take care of the bride of Christ, but to take care of our bride and to have savings in place, a home in place, a plan in place that when we're gone, our wives and our children, especially our wives, can be taken care of. And if we're young, if our children are still at home, our children should be taken care of. And so there's going to be sacrifice in the ministry, but we should expect to be paid well for working for the church. That's what the Bible teaches. Here's one of my life verses, Proverbs 22 and 29. Do you see a man who excels in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before unknown men. And right now, and I've noticed this over the years as a pastor and as an administrative bishop, I go into some churches and the first thing they want to start talking to me about is cutting the pastor's pay. I know that that's not a growing church. They don't understand their number one investment is their pastor. And you may be in a church like that. They're perfectly content with you being a volunteer. They're perfectly content with you working 2, 3 jobs, your wife working, your children having to sacrifice so that they can get a pastor. But you keep doing this. You keep doing the things that are worthy to be paid. Don't allow all the things you love to do to consume up all your time. You keep doing the work of a professional with excellence. And one day, a king will recognize you and you will get paid. It's not about getting the money, not about I want to get rich, but a servant is worthy of his hire. And one day, you'll get paid what you're worth, and your family will be blessed, and you'll be blessed. And that's what I desire for all of us. So there you go. Saturday briefing. Working for free is not for me. God bless you. Thanks to all of you for what you're doing. Love and appreciate you very much. We'll see you around the bend. In the meantime, let's all of us keep running to win for the gospel's sake. Blessings.